So before I begin, I'm just going to ask everyone to please silence all electronic devices so we have proper decorum and dignity during the course of the funeral. My name is Rabbi Benjamin Blau. I serve as the Rabbi of Green Road Synagogue, and I have the privilege of officiating at today's funeral. As we pay tribute to Rivka Rachel Bas Ber Leib, Rita Mintz, Bubby, to everyone who knew her, an amazing mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother who we try to pay tribute to. We're going to start off by saying a parak of Tehillim, a chapter of Psalms. Michtam leDavid, Shemreini el ki chasisi bach, amart l'Adonai Adonai ata tavasi ba'lolecha, liktosh ma shebe'eretz heima v'adirei kol chefti bam, yebuat tzvasam achar meharu balasik niksehem idam, ubalastash matzam al tzvasai, Adonai menach chalki v'chosi, ata tamich korali, Chavalim naflu li banimim af nachla shafra alai. Avaregas Adonai asher yatzani. Af leilos yizrusuni chil yosai. Shivisi Adonai lidi tamid kmini balemot. Lokein samach libi v'egel kfodi apsari yishkon levetach. Ki lo sazov nafshi lisho lo titein chasit kol di roshachas. Todi eini orach hayim savas machoses panecha nimahos bimincha netzach. Just going to explain how we're going to proceed this morning. I'm going to lead off by saying a few words about Rita, about Bubby. Then we're going to ask. Randy's going to come, her son, and say a few words. Stuart's going to say a few words as well, another one of her sons. And then Rabbi Davidovich, the rabbi of Heights Jewish Center, will be the last person to give a eulogy, and he'll lead us in the Kel Malay. How do you say goodbye to a woman who is incredibly full of life, who's a great friend to everyone? No matter where they were in life, she was their great friend. It's so unique that her granddaughter, Becky, called her her best friend. Those are unique qualities not normally found in most individuals. She was born in Cleveland. She met her husband both when they were in grade school. In fact, I was told she had her eye on him very early on. She went to his bar mitzvah uninvited. But they were excellent partners, spending a lifetime together. Initially, when he was at the Ohio State University, she worked for Ohio Bell to support them while he was still in college. But there was no question, while they were partners, the family was very clear. She ran the show. Her success came from making him think that things were his idea. She raised her 3 boys in Beechwood, and it was a great mother handle, and I'll say their word, challenging children. There was no new furniture in the house until the kids moved out. And any help she had would inevitably quit. But she found a way to manage them, most importantly, giving each one what they needed. She and her husband enjoyed their life together. They each had their own set of friends as well as their shared friends. They went on cruises. They went to Vegas. She loved to gamble and was quite good at it. She was always busy with a full schedule of activities. She was good at so many things, including being a master mahjong player. She loved her time with her friends, and here was the most important part. Each one of them felt that they were her best friend. Family was always incredibly important to her. Her grandparents lived with her when she was growing up, and she shared a room with her brother and her cousin as a child. Babe, her brother, and her cousin Arnie were incredibly close to her entire life. She insisted that the extended family always get together each Friday night. And as things progressed, particularly when Stu and Jennifer became religious, that meant that everyone was going to come to their home. She insisted on hiring a waitress so that her daughter-in-law would not have to work so hard. I think the key line in talking with the family and those who knew her so well, she lived her life for others and would go to great lengths to help them. Her granddaughter Becky recalled how she would come once a month to Columbus to visit her and Mendy when they were there. In fact, when Dovey was born, one of her great-grandsons, she, of course, drove off to Columbus for his birth and had to be kicked out of the delivery room. She wasn't going to miss it. During the time when Becky was pregnant with Eitan, she made sure to take Becky to all of the doctor's appointments. I have the privilege now of teaching Jakey. I've taught all 3 of the Gekovich great-grandchildren. the third of her local great-grandchildren, and I know from them how much fun they had with Bubby and how much they loved her. She was her granddaughter's confidant, and just by way of example to how much she helped, when the old car she had given Becky started breaking down, she simply told Papa, her husband, that she was giving her the new car, and that's the way it was. While it was initially hard for her, when part of the family became more religious, she grew to accept that and appreciate their choices, much that she valued each one of her children. Clearly the last few years were much harder. Here is a woman who had cared for everyone, who was so vivacious, so full of life, so dynamic, now was looked after by her offspring. But they welcomed the opportunity to take care of this incredible woman who they all loved so dearly. Bubby leaves a great legacy, both in the way she lived her life, so many lives that she touched, and in the incredible generations that are following in her footsteps. Yehi zichra baruch. May her memory be a blessing. Randy?
I've held a lot of microphones and I've given a lot of speeches. But this time it's a little different standing at this podium. I remember in 2011 I stand at my father's podium and I wasn't as emotional as I am today. And probably because my relationship with my father was a little different than my mother's. But the love was equal. And maybe because this is the last parent. So with your help, we'll get through this speech and we'll honor my mother. So I'd like to welcome everybody today, and we appreciate your support. I realize this is a sad day, and there's loneliness in the air. But my mother had a wonderful life, and as the rabbi said, she grew up with her brother and her cousin near the Kinsman area, and then moved to Kinsman, and they had the whole block of friends from 134th to 143rd Street, and then ended up going to John Adams High School. And she spent a lot of time writing a lot of letters to my father because she fell in love with him at his bar mitzvah. I've worked with celebrities, and my mother was my celebrity. My mother was my hero, and yet she was our mother. She could win races, shoot baskets, win golf championships, and make the best salmon patties and matzo ball soup this side of the Mississippi. And with all her accolades, she was the best mom. My mom had a great sense of humor. Tell joke stories, she loved to make people smile, laugh, a great writer, beautiful handwriting, articulate, business savvy, and she was a leader. The difficult times my mother had to deal with this past several years were not easy. This horrible disease has been very difficult on many families. I would be remiss if I did not give special thanks to our personal giver and family member, Bernadette, who's sitting with us in the room there. She was our aide, our administrator. She interviewed all the other team members that were hired to work with my mom. Bernadette, you loved my mom, you worked with your heart, and you wanted to make sure everything was done for her. Bernadette, I saved this statement just for the elite, and I repeat it twice. And when I tell somebody that we could not do this without you, my brothers would not have been able to do this without you. Don't forget my 10%. One day I was leaving the facility, and my mom mumbled something. The Stone Garden nurse mentioned, "That was nice of you to acknowledge your mother, that if you knew what she was speaking to you about." I replied, I knew exactly what she was saying to me. She said, you don't have to worry. I'll be fine. She never complained, never wanted us to worry about her. She would say, Just let me worry about you boys. My parents were married 59 years. They started dating in high school, John Adams. I like to share a couple of the cards that my dad wrote to my mom. And I made some copies of it. So this picture of my father was sent to my mother, and on the back was a nice greeting card of it. This sat on my mother's desk next to her bed for 77 years, including the nursing home that she was in. Dear Rita, words can't begin to say just what you mean to me, how wonderful the love we share, how dear you'll always be. Thoughts of you are in my heart each day the whole year through, and every day in passing finds me more in love with you. Love, Bill, 1948. She made all the arrangements for vacation. She was a great listener and wasn't afraid to speak her mind and give sound advice on life as well as business, especially to the 4 men in the family. My parents were members of Hawthorne Valley Country Club for many years. When my father was president in 1980, my mother loved being first lady because she always knew she got the best parking spot. A couple years ago, I was at the Cleveland Indians, now it's hard to say the Guardians, but baseball game. And this gentleman tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "Are you Randy Mintz?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "I'm Elijah. I used to work at Hawthorne Valley." He worked in the kitchen. He parked cars. And I said, "Elijah, great seeing you." And he said, "How are your parents doing?" I said, "Well, we lost my dad a couple years ago, but my mom's doing pretty good." He said, "Could I tell you about something about your parents?" I said, "Yes." He said, "They were the most wonderful parents in the world. It wasn't about pulling their car around or the tokens they gave me. They always asked how my family was doing. How's your son doing? How'd he do in his football game? How'd your daughter do in her softball game and her piano recital?" That was the type of parents your parents were. And I said, "Elijah, that's very nice, and I appreciate it very much." In 1977, there was a knock on the door on Hilltop Drive. It was Fran and Bennett Kleiman from across the street. They asked my parents, "Would you like to join us to the trip to Israel?" They were forming the Kleiman Caravan Group. We're all going to purchase a new bus for the kibbutz in Israel. I have a very special photo of my parents planting a tree in Israel when they were on that trip. My father would say, if you knock down one tree in Israel, you had to replace it with another. So my parents planted their first tree, and that was the start of the Mintz family garden that my brothers and I have continued ever since. In the mid-'70s, my mother approached my father and said, "Billy, Velvel, I'd like to learn how to play golf." "Wow," my father replied, "you want to learn golf?" "Yes, what's wrong with that?" Well, I could tell you, back then, it was really a very chauvinistic. Women couldn't tee off until after 3 o'clock anyways. And the average husband would say, honey, I'll buy you the shiny newest bowling ball you've ever had or the nicest tennis racket you've ever had. But please, not golf. But my father said, "When would you like to learn?" So they headed off to the golf course. My mother said, "This isn't the way to Hawthorne Valley. This is the way to Locust Grove." My father replied, honey, we need to go to an easier course for starters, for you to get comfortable with the game." My father was not surprised that she was able to hit the ball and hit it pretty good. So my mother took up the game of golf and took it seriously. In 1986, my mother made it to the club championship at Hawthorne Valley. The women's club championship at that time was as big as the men's and very popular, and it drew a lot of fans to there. And my mother was very happy with the runner-up that year. The following year, she was determined to get back to the finals, and she did. My mother won the club championship in 1987 at Hawthorne Valley. I still have her putter, her trophy, and the photo of the victory. My mother loved her brother, my Uncle Babe Seamus. They talked every single day until we lost Uncle Babe a few years back. My mother's cousin, Arnie Lycan, who's doing great, has always been a brother to my mother, as close as cousins can be. My mother, Arnie, and Babe spend their whole childhood together, as the rabbi mentioned. Arnie is watching us on Zoom from Sacramento, California. Hello, Arnie. And I am also very close with Arnie and his son, Steve. It would be impossible to mention all the special friends my mother had. I wish I could name them. I could name them all. From Florida to Cleveland, she was very close with Virginia, Uni, Shirley, Lois, Nola, Jerry, and many more dear friends. She loved her card games, canasta, mahjong. I would stop over to the house and tell my mom, "I'm here to say hello to your friends." She would laugh and say, "You're here for the snacks." And she had the best snacks, but I always enjoyed seeing her friends too. My mother and I tried a new restaurant in Florida. During the meal, the chef came out and greeted some of the diners and approached our table. He asked, "What did you think of the food and the ambiance?" We told him it was excellent. He asked, "Where are you from?" We told him. And he asked, "What's your favorite restaurant in all your travels?" My mother looked at him and replied, "That's an easy answer. Having Shabbos dinner at my kids' and grandchildren's house every Friday night." My niece Becky visited my mom or spoke to her on the phone when she was in Florida every Friday night her entire life before Shabbos. She lived for her 3 children, 5 grandchildren, and 8 great-grandchildren, of course, for my dad. In the late 60s and 70s, my brothers were talking to my parents about what they wanted to do with their careers. Stuart said, I don't know, maybe a karate teacher or, go into finance or maybe eventually become a lawyer. Michael said something in business financing and ended up going into that particular business, accounting. And I said, "Mom, what do you think I should be?" I was in 5th or 6th grade. She said, "Randy, be curious. Use your creativity. You will soar to new heights with your imagination. You and your brothers will make a difference and an impact in other people's lives." When I finish here today, I know I will be thinking about what else I forgot to say, but it won't bother me as much because everyone here in this room had some of their own experience and their special time with my mom, if it was learning about her through my brothers and their wives, or even our friends. So I'll be fine with that. Our friends were always welcome to our house. So I do have to share this one story. One day my friend David came over, and my mother said, "Play nicely in the basement." Stuart came home from his first karate class and told David to stand still, "Don't move." I learned this in karate today. He wanted to try his new karate punch, aiming right between David's eyes. My mother heard a loud bang and called down, "I hope you boys didn't break anything down there." "No, Mom," we said, "just David's face." Stuart hit David right between the eyes and he went flying against the wall. It's a true story. Stuart replied, "I guess I need a little bit more practice." My mother asked David, "Are you eating dinner over tonight?" David replied, "Yes, when I get back from the hospital." You couldn't put anything over on my mom. Like telling my mom I was going to Heights Pharmacy at 9 p.m. one night with David, Bruce, and Ronnie. "I'll see you later, Mom, and don't wait up." I told her you could call my friend's parents to verify. I almost got away with it, but then I heard that famous phrase, "Are you crazy?" That meant it wasn't going to happen. "You're not going anywhere," she replied, "and I am for certain that their parents are not aware of it either." Well, I tried. One night my mother was leaving to go out with my father, and she said, "Boys, share this brownie pie." I remember the pie too. Share this brownie pie. I was in 2nd or 3rd grade. Michael said to me, "Randy, this is your lucky day. You are going to get half the pie." I said, oh boy, wow." And Michael said, "Yes, you are going to get half of Stewart's. But we did share equally. There's a poem that my father showed me one day, because he always knew I enjoyed horses and rode horses for many, many years. And he read this to my mother, and I thought it was magnificent. And my father's father carried a ruler, and I didn't bring it with me, but it's the accordion wood rulers that bricklayers or general contractors that my dad would carry those in their back pockets. So I would like to share this poem with you, and it's two people on a horse, and it's the rule of life. And my father read this to my mother. If the yardstick of wealth is a rich man's tool, measuring power and money on the ticks of a rule, I'm far behind, back on the first inch, just making ends meet, staying out of a pinch. But if that stick measures what smiles represent, if the rich end of its scale shows how life should be spent, then I'm worth millions, 'cause you're by my side, and I reach my dreams every time we go for a ride. Last page. My mother never gave up. She always made a comeback. She recovered from 3 episodes of COVID, shoulder and hip surgery. And as my friends always said when I see them for breakfast, she is a fighter. And she was a fighter. When she started to slow down, on her birthday, a year ago, June, not this past birthday, 2024, she received a special birthday card from a very special friend that I've spent many, many times with this individual. And every time I left his house or I talked to him on the phone, he said to me, please tell your mother I love her and give her a hug for me. And I would like to read his birthday card to you. June 25th, her birthday, 2024. Happy birthday, Rita. It's fans like you that have helped me make all my playing years very special. Enjoy your special day from your number one fan, Rocky Calavito. Once in a while, it's nice to talk to a parent, and I called my dad last week. And I said, Dad, I think Mom's ready to come up to you. She's ready. He replied, tell her to wait a little bit longer. I'm just making the turn on the back 9. Then he turned his scorecard in, and they're together again. When I would leave my mom's room sometime, and Bernadette was there, I would just sing her a few lines from a song. And Bernadette would say, Randy, your mom really loves that. But don't quit your day job, please, for us. And I would sing to my mom, how does a moment last forever? Can a story never die? It is love we must hold on to. Never easy, but we try. Sometimes our happiness is captured. Somehow our time and place stand still. Love lives on inside our hearts and always will. Love you, Mom. Thank you.
Let's do it.
I don't know what to say. I had been thinking about how I wanted to approach today and you all with regards to thoughts and feelings about my mother. Is this better? Okay. And I was listening to the rabbis so far and Randy, and it's tough to come up with words. And what I wanted to, what I would like to really do, at least from my perspective, is to share with you words of my daughter Jackie, who is in Israel, watching also. Hi, Jackie, and family, and read to you a poem that she put together basically in the last 24 hours, and it spoke to me. I echo these thoughts, and this is what I wanted to share with you. To my Bubby. Bubby, I close my eyes and I see you, smiling the way you always did. You filled my life with a warmth and joy and love that still lives in me. You were the light in every room, the sparkle of your days, so funny, warm, and beautiful in your own unforgettable ways. You talked to me about everything, listened, laughed, and cared. You gave me advice that changed my life. Because of you, love was shared. Even when you didn't agree with me, you stood right by my side. You loved me through each and every choice I made with patience, faith, and pride. You told me, call David, take a chance. And now I see so clear that you planted seeds of happiness that still bloom year to year. Everyone who met you loved you. How could they not? It's true. You made this world a softer place just by being you. So rest, my sweet and shining Bubby. You've done your work so well. Your voice and love will stay with me more deeply than words can tell. I wanted to read this because I echo every one of these, this entire message, and I thought it was very appropriate. My mother, she had this rare, effortless way of making everyone feel special. She had so many friends from all walks of life and all ages, and even people who met her just once could never forget her. She left a lasting impression whenever she went, not because she tried to, but because she was simply herself. She never judged anyone. She just offered warmth, laughter, love, and understanding. She related to everyone, young or old, and always made people feel good about who they were. Being around her meant feeling lighter, happier, and cared for. She filled every space with her joy, her humor, and her big, open heart. Mom, we're all going to miss you very, very much.
When a bubby, whether grandmother or great-grandmother, passes away, it's quite easy, especially in our community, to say she was beloved. Bubbies are bubbies. And yet, I think something has to be said. I was talking with Becky before Shabbos, and I got a message from what she said. She shared stories with me that she already shared with Rabbi Blau and that he shared with you here. But what I felt is that there is a kind of bubby who is a wonderful bubby. And it's the kind of bubby who sits back and enjoys what's been done without any effort. Right? She went through the trouble of raising the kids, and now she gets to just bask in the glory of having that next generation and the next generation after just provide the nachas that comes with it. And those kinds of grandparents who bask in that joy, in that nachas of grandchildren, great-grandchildren, are wonderful grandparents. But what Rita did, and this is very clear, and I already knew some of this as well, is that she didn't stop there. She didn't say, well, I raised these rambunctious boys, now I have the grandchildren to show for it, and I'll enjoy them. But she went to the next step. She didn't say, I'm done with the responsibility. You know, the way I've heard from many good grandparents, I'm not criticizing anyone, but good grandparents, and they say, I love my grandchildren, it's so wonderful. I can just spoil them and have fun with them and then hand them back to their parents at the end of the day. You like that kind of thing. She wasn't like that. She made a point of holding on to her giving nature even to that next generation and the next generation after it. So that she wasn't just a giving grandparent. She wasn't just a giving parent. She became a giving grandparent. And not just the kind of giving grandparent, and again, a wonderful kind of grandparent, who gives their kids, here's a $20, here's a $100 bill, here's a check for Hanukkah for your birthday or whatever it is. But to continue to give in a way that is meaningful, that is helpful, that shows I understand where you are in your life, and I want to be there for you. Not I want to be there for me to get nachas from you, but I want to be there for you. And whether it was Shabbos, as was mentioned, or whether it was Yom Tif, or whether it was other occasions that called for that kind of extra beloved family support, she made a point of doing that. And I think that's something that has to be remembered. Because we all feel in our own lives that there's a point where a person can give, and then they can say, I've given enough. Let me just enjoy the ride the rest of the time. And until she could no longer give proactively, she did give proactively that entire time. And I know that's something that her children understood, that's something her grandchildren understood, and I have direct personal experience from Dovey that this is something that her great-grandchildren understood, to be a friend, to be a giver. And for that, we all owe her a tremendous debt of gratitude, and to also thank her for being able to honor her memory by speaking for her today.
This concludes the eulogies we're going to be delivered. I do want to mention the honor of two other rabbinic personalities who are here today, Rabbi Kyle, the assistant rabbi of Gimler Synagogue, Rabbi Yossi Morozov of Friendship Circle, who are both close to the family. I'll ask everyone to please rise as we say the Kamale, the memorial prayer.
El mole rachamim shochein b'mromim Hamse menucha nechona al kanfei hashechina b'malos kidoshim u'tohorim kizohar horokia mazirim es nishmas Rivka Rachel bas Berleib sholachol olamah Bavur shanachnu mispalalim bad hazkoras nishmasa began Eden tehei menuchasa Lachein ba'al orachamim yastireo b'seiser kenafav lolamim v'yisrod b'tzorachai ves nishmasa Adonai hu nachalasa וסנוח בשלום על נשכבה, ונאמר אמן.
You may be seated. The interment continues at Mount Sinai Jewish Cemetery at the Heights Jewish Center section on White Road, Mayfield Village. After the ceremony is complete, the family will be receiving friends at the Mayfield Country Club, 1545 Sheridan Road in South Euclid, from 12:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. today. After that time, Shiva will be at the residence of Mr. and Mrs. Stuart Mintz, 24115 Woodway Road in Beechwood. The Shiva hours are as follows. Sunday, today after the greeting at the Country Club from 4 to 8 with Mincha and Marv at 6:25. Monday through Thursday, 8 in the morning till 12, Shachrit at 8 till 12, and then again at 4 to 8 with Marv at 6:25. In lieu of flowers, the family kindly requests contributions be made either to the Fuchs Mizrahi School or the Jewish Learning Connection in Rita's memory. I thank you all for coming. May her memory be a blessing.
All rise, please. Processing with us from Mount Sinai Cemetery. Make sure your headlights and your blinkers are on. Food services here in the chapel.
Anybody who's proceeding to the cemetery, please remember to turn on your headlights and
I was talking about you. You gotta tell her like it is. Karen always gets It is disgusting. I think she's yeah. I'm like, you guys look close. You could make it. Yeah, I just. Well, we'll see.